It was made in 1964, and it was filmed all around Ladbroke Grove. It was written and directed by a guy called Jim O'Connolly, produced by Goldhawk Films, and the chap who produced it was a guy called Freddie Robinson. And it was about us two. He was my leader. I came from a very sort of bad situation at home. Well, yeah, and then we kind of teamed up. And because of the race issue, I guess, at the time, my parents were dead against me having a friendship with Ted, played by Carl here. Carl's father lives in Jamaica, so Carl was abandoned, and he lived with his mother, who had a lot of boyfriends, which meant that Carl had a lot of uncles. Yeah. I lived with my parents, and we just teamed up as a friendship, and we decided. Well, Carl suggested that it's no good round here type thing, and we would run away to Jamaica to see his father for a better life.
The postcard.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Postcard.
Yeah.
Because it's the idea, it's still even today I woke up and I thought, what the hell am I doing in England? The weather.
Yeah.
The weather.
We had this, that's right, you had a postcard,
yeah.
and it was of a beautiful...
The Caribbean.
Yeah, you got it.
You know, the Caribbean.
And so the idea was we ran away, and our route was to get to Liverpool, to catch a boat, to go to Jamaica. The film really was about two kids with a nice story, but it was about the environment. It was about the fact that we were of different race. It was about the fact that our parents were not really in control of us, and it was about the whole situation, the fallout, I guess, from the 50s into the 60s and what was going on with everything.
Because there's a lot of issues to do with race. There's a lot of issues to do with the environment as well at the time, when we look back and see how Ladbroke Grove was.
So everything was a small piece to make a big piece.
Yeah,
Would you agree?
Of course, of course. And I love the way that Jim O'Connolly wrote the script, and directed it. It's still relevant today, and you can see it in play today. And I think the idea, where he got the idea from.
Well, again, there was a lot of little pieces to it. There was a deeper, meaningful story. There was a deeper, meaningful relationship between the two of us, really. But there was also entertainment in the comedy. I mean, even when we got nicked in the police station, there was an element of comedy.
I hadn't seen it for years, and as I said, looking back and seeing London in the 60s, such a sight. And he actually captured that, and a lot of movies most probably did, but he actually captured. And moving from the capturing of that environment, the beauty of it for me was how innocent we were. There was no race issue involved. We didn't know about race. We didn't know about the so-called black and white. We didn't know about that. And that is really so important. As a director and as the man who wrote it, I thought that was really addressing issues that are still relevant today. And you saw that by looking back to the movie. And when I left, I could see the relevance of it all by just observing the people as I moved through the city. And you see it every day. And you can always look back and think, yeah, there are still environments like that. There are still kids running away from their homes. It's not that perfect.
He led, I followed. I felt that in the story, he led, I followed.
That is the beauty of. I'm glad you brought that up. Because that's the beauty. Because at the time, it was the Englishman rule, and you are the servant. But he reversed the role, and he did it neat. And I'll tell you what was good. I don't even speak like this, Jamaica. But how I spoke in the actual movie to how you spoke in the movie, mainly Cockney. And sort of like a kid that went to a private school.
Yeah, you were quite posh.
That is what I thought. It's the uniqueness of the movie. He reversed the role.
But as you can tell, it never rubbed off. But I can put a posh accent on if I'm asked.
You did go to acting school. It was like cool. It was like smooth sailing all the way through.
I think he let us kind of. I mean, bearing in mind, I mean, I didn't realise you were 11 at the time. I was 9, and so we were very young.
I was 13. 12.
12?
12.
11, 12.
Yeah.
So I didn't realise you were sort of that much older than me. I was 9. And I think he took a big chance on sort of letting us do the scenes, and he directed them, but he kind of let us he sort of saw what came out of it. He didn't dictate to us what we did. He directed us in a kind of sort of
say the words.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, we had the moves to do, obviously, because especially when we were in scenes with the police and other actors, but he kind of, and as long as we hit the marks, then we were left alone, really. Yeah, I mean, it was.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
If you look back on it, it wasn't so technical as today.
The whole experience was just like very laid back.
Yeah,
I mean, in as much as we turned up and we, yeah.
Really nice, really. It was so much emotion, going back to child days with family and living. I was so privileged to have a great mother and a great father and great siblings. And, looking back, a lot of emotions.
Yeah, it
really, so much emotions.
Yeah, watching the film on that day, it brought back so many memories. It also made me realise how old I am now. But I mean, and just little things on the little ones. But just little things like, I mean, I got a brother who's younger, and where we lived at the time. And you kind of, the thing, right back to the thing about getting up in the morning and going to the film set and being picked up and stuff like that. And then, because within that is what you were doing at home that morning. And that took me back to our house that we used to live in as kids, the decor of the place, the car that my father had, and that kind of leads you on to the holidays that we had. And it really did open up a lot of things. And I'm very fortunate that both my parents are still alive. And they're both 80, and and so therefore it was kind of a bit of a trip down memory lane on a very, very personal level, and it was just seriously, it was a very, very moving day, and in fact, as I'm talking about it now, it was a very moving day.
It is emotional. It just shows you what cinematography can do, and how it captures, and it's the importance of some movies, but it just shows you what, I think that was like a documentary. This movie is like a documentary. It has a storyline, it's a brilliant storyline, but it's more like a documentary. Seeing it, when I saw it, look at London, look how we dress, look at the conditions, and then you had the aristocracy. I love the way you put the aristocracy, Lord so-and-so, and how he went about things, no different than what's going on today. It's the same thing, but it's you can't see it so much now. As you could see it.
And a behind the screen sort of thing is we were filming around West London, and we were like, I mean, it was kind of a special thing because there's a film set going on, and the two boys are, and and you get people talking to you, you sort of. But we were following Steptoe and Son round, so there were two films going round, or two productions going round, and one of them was Steptoe and Son, and the other one was us. And of course now, I guess we could be Steptoe and Son. You can be the son.
Well, yes, Pops.
I'm just trying to be nice.
Yes, Pops. After that, I was living in Brixton where there was a lot of little tension, a lot of tension. And we had the Black Panther not too far from where we lived. And my parents were so disappointed when I said, like, I don't want to know nothing about that word no more. And went into the Black Panther world. And it was just a transformation. It's a culture clash. For me personally, it was a culture clash. It still is today.
So did you leave stage school?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
left,
yeah.
you
Well,
left, you
yes,
left countries
yes,
and went, what,
yes.
so you went back to an ordinary school?
Yes, yes, and I couldn't hack this ordinary school. That was sad because I wasn't used to that. I was only 5 in a class. That was sad. And then I went into school with thousands, and there was a divide. You know, there was this divide in school. Tulse Hill was one of the biggest schools in Europe, and Ken Livingstone went there. But it was a massive school. You had to take lifts to go to I think it was 8 stores. Yeah, one of the biggest schools, just where Upper Tulse Hill. Massive, massive school.
I stayed in the business. Don't know what else, but I stayed in the business. I was very lucky. I went on to do some more films. I mean, after that film, so that was 64, 65, 66, I did Half a Sixpence. And then I did a film called Some May Live. And then I went into the film Oliver. And the funny thing about that was that I was blonde because I was doing a series of commercials for Crisps. And so I couldn't go for Dodger. And then Jack Wilde got Dodger. So I never ever got a chance to be up against him again for another part. But he, as I say, he got Dodger and that was it. And then then later on, I went as a redcoat at Butlins. So I did some variety stuff, ended up doing the clubs. And then I was very lucky I ended up in the West End. I did stuff like Barnum. I played Tom Thumb. I did the show Oliver, I played Noah Claypole. Did another show called Peg. So I kind of kept going, and then I ended up on the road doing an act. I've done stand-up comedy. I know you don't like comics.
Really? You'd be a good comedian.
Yeah, well,
it's in your genes.
Thank you. It should be out. It should be there, coming out, stuck in my jeans.
Because you're on camera, right?
Yeah, I know. So yeah, I mean, it was. So that I was very lucky, and I really. I even did EastEnders. But yeah, but a lovely story. I mean, I'm in a. At the moment, I'm sort of in a not show busy kind of environment work-wise. The day they got us together, after 48 years.
No, that was
it has to be for me on a
was
par with the birth of my children.
Oh
it was
God,
one of those most emotional days.
Oh man, I couldn't even believe it. And then you know what was annoying for me? Your brains and stuff. You remembered everything. Because that's, just listening to you talking about the actors that you played with and reeling off the names and the places and the event. I admire people who have got good memories.
The last time I actually remember, the last time I remember seeing you was in Holborn, which is where they did the preview. And that must have been early 65. That's 1965, not 1865. And that's the last I saw of you physically. And then the last time I saw you was on the Kathy Kirby show because you went on to do some stuff after. And and that's it. And the strange thing was that for me personally, about 5 years ago, my wife and I, we started buying the DVDs of stuff that you can now buy of stuff that you did years ago. And because we jokingly call those days the glory years. And my kids, 26 and 21, hadn't really seen it. And we started buying the stuff, And it's just so they know what the old man used to do type thing. And I managed to get hold of, via the BFI, a copy of the little ones. And then it must have been somewhere in the region of middle March. It was a Friday. I was in Brixton, which is where you come from, and they were the only two things I knew about you. You went to Italia Conti's, a good plug for Italia Conti's, I went to Barbara Speaks, just balanced the books. And you lived in Brixton. And I was in Brixton on a Friday at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and this is gospel truth. And I'm in Brixton, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, do you know what? I really should, I mean, whatever happened to you, we really should meet X, Y, and Z. And then 2 hours later, I got a phone call from my agent, my last agent, and she said, the BFI are trying to find you. And I went, really? She said, yeah. She said, they're showing the little ones on April the 2nd. And I went, how strange. You know, I've just been thinking about it 2 hours ago in Brixton, which is where Carl Gonzales came from, X, Y, and Z. And she said, well, you're being reunited after 48 years. And it was just unbelievable. And then when we actually saw one another, and I kind of held it together a bit until the end of the film, and they brought us up on stage. And tears
of joy.